unless you have someone that can take care of your homestead while you are gone.
Sorry, there was like a giant spider crawling.
Oh, that's cool. Hi, I'm Mike, and this is Jess, and welcome to Goodwin's Farm 207.
Today we're going to be talking about should you start a hobby farm or a homestead. We are often asked about our animals and our lifestyle and why we raise our own food, and it seems to be becoming an ever popular rise in American culture of starting your own homestead, being more self-sufficient, starting hobby farms. And today we wanted to talk about that a little bit and why we do it, and also some mistakes that we've made along the way, and some questions that you should ask yourself to see if perhaps this is right for you or not.
Yeah, and what we would do differently.
Yeah, so stick around until the end, because this should be a pretty fun and hopefully informative video for you.
Yeah.
So question number 1.
What are your goals?
Everybody kind of starts out with this lifestyle for their own specific personal reasons. For us, it was kind of something we just fell into. I grew up on a hobby farm. Michael did not grow up on a farm.
Not at all.
And so we had very different experiences and very different childhoods when we walked into this. We really didn't have a lot of a plan on what we were doing or anything like that. It was just, hey, I think we should start being more self-sufficient and raising our own food. COVID and all of that happened. So we really didn't have what I would say a clear goal or goals in mind of what we wanted to do. And, you know, if we had to do it all over again, I think that is something that we would definitely change, and we would have set goals, understanding that those are always subject to change depending on, you know, what happens in your life. But
Yeah.
I think having kind of an idea of what we wanted and how big we wanted to be would have been helpful in the beginning. You know, to ask yourself the question of, is this really a hobby, or is your goal to be full-time farming, or is it to homestead to just be self-sufficient for your own personal use? So really taking a time to ask those questions of, you know, what is our goals, and which ones are the most important, I think would have been really helpful for us.
Yeah, to have some sort of plan going into it would have been helpful for me. You know, that first year we were just it felt like we were just kind of flying by the seat of our pants and figuring things out as we went. But that's not to say that we didn't learn along the way. I learned a lot, and, you know, the plan of what shaped our homestead kind of was formulated as we went along. And I think in hindsight, it would have been good for us to have that plan ahead of time.
And, you know, definitely when we started, I think it was more of, hey, this is a hobby, this will be something fun to do with the kids. And that was definitely a great goal, and one that we did meet. It allowed us to spend a lot more quality time with our children that were getting older, and teach them some life skills that we felt was important for them to have. But it was definitely one of those things that we really didn't start out with, hey, let's just be completely self-sufficient. It was, let's be more self-sufficient than we are today and teach our kids some valuable life lessons. So our goals did evolve as we went on, but I think having a more set guideline of, hey, here's our goals and this is what we want to do with this property would have been really helpful.
Yes.
So definitely would say question number 1 is ask yourself, what are your goals? What is your goal for this lifestyle? And write those down. Like, take the time to actually write them out. And then, you know, I think it will help you with the rest of these questions that we're going to ask next. Stick to the script, Mike.
I don't have the script. You have the script.
Well, I told you what it was.
Doesn't mean I remember.
Sorry, Remy was on this hot pursuit of something. She smells it.
She probably smells me.
Okay. She's good. All right.
Question number 2. What's your budget?
And this is a very realistic question to ask yourself, because Remy's here. So money is a reality. It costs money to buy animals. It costs money to buy seedlings or seeds when you're starting out. It costs money to feed animals or to buy hay or building materials. Everything has a cost. And although we try really hard to do things with free, cheap, recycled material, there's still a cost to it. So understanding what your budget is, how much extra income you have to devote towards getting started, as well as what do you have for savings? Because especially if you plan to have livestock, you should have some type of savings in the event of an emergency, or a idea of how you're going to handle that, because animals get sick, they get hurt, and there's a cost associated to it. It's just the reality of it. So I would say this is probably one of the most important questions to ask yourself is, what is your budget and what can you realistically afford starting out? Understand that may be just until you can start making money and can then add more in to your farm or homestead, but just to take that realistic approach so you're not ending up putting yourself in a situation where you're not able to be successful.
Right. And a good example of, what's your budget would be, if you have goats, they're going to need, vaccinations and other medication depending on the choices you make with your goats. And if you aren't comfortable administering those, you're going to have to find a vet that can come to your site and do that for you. And that can be very expensive.
Yes.
So for us, we've done it ourselves. We've also had vets come in, but when the vets are here, we watch what they're doing. We learn what their techniques are, and then we try to, do it ourselves next time. But that is definitely an expense that would be good to have savings for.
Yeah, and as Mike said, there's times that we do it ourselves and there's times that we hire it out, because Michael and I both still work full-time jobs, so we don't always have the time to do a lot of that stuff. So when you're building in your budget and building in your plan, it's a good idea to also build in a budget of what time do you have available to do these kind of things.
So it is important to understand how much time you have to commit to your animals, because regardless of what you have and how much you have, it is indeed a commitment. Even if you don't have animals, it could just be seedlings and a garden, or it could be a couple chickens, or it could be 9 goats and 50 chickens and 6 dogs. I don't know, I think that's roughly what we have. I lose count.
Yeah.
But if you only have 20 minutes a day to commit, don't get 7 goats, because you're going to need more than 20 minutes a day to care for them. So understand, what time you have and how much of this is going to impact your lifestyle too. And if you like to travel and have weekends away, unless you have someone that can take care of your homestead while you are gone.
Sorry, there was a giant spider crawling.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't think I killed it, but I think I got it off of you.
All right.
Sorry, spider break.
Spider break.
There was a big garden spider crawling on him, and as much as I am okay with him being around and eating bugs, I don't want them crawling on me.
So,
I believe it was removed safely.
humanely, possibly. But yes, how much time do you have? And, I would say if you approach it as a hobby, then you probably are only going to be able to give it a small amount of time every day to, overall every week. A homestead is a much bigger operation, requires more time commitment every day. And, especially if you have livestock, there's no days off.
No.
You really have to be in for the long haul.
And this is something I felt like, because Michael is the one who is actually here, because I work off-site at a job where I have to go in every single day. Michael is able to work from home most days, which is a huge luxury for us. But that means he's usually the one that's getting up in the mornings and taking care of doing the regular routine maintenance for the animals. And that's something I think is important to talk about, is how much time does it actually take? Now, understanding we have goats and quails and chickens and pheasant and
Ducks.
we've had ducks, we've had cows, we have baby geese, we do meat birds, meat turkeys, and meat chickens. So, you know, starting out, you may not have all of those things, but as you get old, you know, we're still not a huge operation. We're still considered fairly small. So what would you say your daily time is just for the normal everyday chores?
Just basic maintenance, probably close to 2 hours a day, all said, between morning and night.
And that's if nothing goes wrong.
Right, that's if nothing goes wrong, no extra projects, you know, I don't have to bring hay down from the hayloft, you know, that's, everything's accessible, everything goes according to plan, and I don't trip and fall and hurt myself at some point.
Or Izzy doesn't jump out.
Right, no goats escape, no dogs are misbehaving, you know.
So just something to think about when you're setting your budget for your finances. Also consider your budget for your time. How much time do you have to commit to this? And, you know, are you budgeting your finances as if you're going to do everything and not have to hire out, or, you know, but you really in all reality don't have time to do that. So you kind of have to factor that into your budget as well. If you have to pay a vet to come out or a farrier to come out and do their feet or things like that, you know, that also needs to get rolled into what your budget would be. So I think we've expanded on that quite a bit. We'd love to hear suggestions from other homesteaders or farmers that are out there. What are some of your best time management strategies or financial planning strategies for your farm? Comment below. If you have an app that you really like to use or a website, go ahead and post those links in the comment, because we're always looking for new great ideas for that.
Or what's your favorite energy drink? You know, what gives you that boost of energy to get stuff done?
Yes.
Always taking suggestions for that.
Herbal remedies you get extra points for, because I'm really excited to learn more about herbs and more natural remedies for things. So we'll be doing a video coming up in the next few weeks about natural dewormers for your goats. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you subscribe to our channel, because we will be posting that one shortly.
All right, number 3, what's your plan?
Yeah, planning is, you know, we've all heard that saying, failure to plan is a plan to fail. And I think that's also true for farming or homesteading. And I know farming, homesteading, planning is actually becoming a pretty big business where people will hire people to come in and professionally plan it for you. We did not do that. I don't think a lot of people do that, in the fact that it, you know, again, there's a cost to it. If you're looking at setting up a big commercial operation and you want to get up and running within a couple years, that's probably an option you would want to pursue. But if you're doing it like many of us, where you're starting out as a small homestead, hobby farm, to grow to something bigger, then, you know, maybe that's not something. But again, you know, if I had to do it all over again, I definitely would have had more of a plan. I would have set our goals, set our budget, and then used those two things to come up with a tangible plan on how I was going to accomplish those goals. And you would start with like smaller things. Say, you know, you want to have an egg business. Start out with 6 chickens in a small coop and build up some clients, and then maybe expand to 12 and continue through that, versus you go out and you buy 50 chickens.
Wait, who did that?
I didn't buy 50 all at once. But chicken math is real.
It very much is.
You get a bug on your face.
Just becoming one with nature, babe.
That's it. Ugh. The bugs love you.
So when you're first starting out, it can be very easy to get in over your head and get overwhelmed with everything. So looking back over the past few years, we've both come up with some things that we would do differently, or that we would change.
Yeah, so we actually wrote down our number 1 things that we would each do differently if we were to start today versus when we started a few years ago. My number 1 that I would do differently today I would have started with planting. Most of you who've been following this know I'm not the best gardener. I'm not great at planting things, but it's definitely a skill that I want to learn. And I think I would have started with that first. I would have started with learning how to grow my own seedlings and garden and get a little more proficient in that before expanding to livestock. And I would have focused on building our infrastructure first. We kind of started with some chickens, and then from there we went to goats, which totally different end of the spectrum for livestock as far as easy and hard. Chickens very easy, goats tend to be a lot more maintenance. We've got a good rhythm down, but it took us a few years to do that. And I think if we had started more with planting and growing our own food as far as vegetables and things like that, and worked on putting up permanent fence lines where we wanted them long term, understanding sometimes you just don't know that until you've been in it for a few years, would have put us in a better place to be a little more successful than we kind of just threw together a bunch of temporary fencing and we're like, hey, yeah, this will work, this will be great. And then we ended up having to redo a lot of things because we decided, oh, that area is really too wet for what we want to do, or there's not enough shrubbery, and goats don't really eat grass. They like weeds and trees and things like that. So I think we would have been able to have a lot of that stuff done, because the other thing you kind of have to keep in mind going along with the time management is once you add livestock to your farm, it's a whole nother level of time commitment. So by the time we get done with our daily chores on a Saturday or a Sunday, 2 hours of the day is already gone. Whereas if we didn't have them, that would be 2 hours we could use to build, shelters and fence lines and things like that. That's Woody saying hi. So it's just something to keep in mind. Again, if you're someone who you are able to do this full time right out the gate, maybe some of this doesn't apply to you. Or if you have, a bunch of teenage kids and one of you is able to stay home and be, the work from home, then that's great. But for us, that was something I think I would have definitely done differently, is learn that skill first.
Yeah, and for me, coming from a background where I knew nothing about any animal other than cats or dogs, really, would be to do some research and, take the time to learn about what you're doing, when you have that downtime. So that way, the next time you're out there with your animals, you don't feel so underprepared. I feel like I've done pretty well learning and catching up, but I know there's still a lot more that I need to learn. But to kind of dovetail into that, it would be also to lean into your strengths. Mm-hmm. I knew nothing about how to raise livestock, whereas you grew up on a farm. So working together on this, instead of me trying to put my ideas first and thinking that I know what is best to do, I should have leaned on you to know what was best because of your experience and your insight. But when it comes to, building something, not that I'm a construction worker or anything, but I certainly have more experience
Yes.
with that
And patience.
than with, knowing how to trim hooves or whatever. So, there are opportunities for us both to shine and to lead a project or to lead something, and being able to recognize that as a benefit to helping us move forward with our farm, I think we would be further along now than we are today.
I think you do a really good job though with that, and that is something that I would say, not just in our farm life, but also just even in our marriage and our relationships, we do tend to lean into our strengths, but also try to help support the other constantly improve themselves. Like, I am not the technology guru behind this, the editing and all of that. That is Michael's gig. But definitely when I say, hey, I'd like to learn how to do this, or can we do this with it, I feel like he does a really good job of helping me grow in that area. And the same with the livestock. Michael didn't he didn't grow up on a farm, so he didn't have that solid background like I did. And But I feel like he's listened and he's learned a lot, and we've been able to make that work.
Yeah, I mean, there's always something happening, and you can know everything there is to know, but the ability to be flexible and adapt. I think we've talked about that in a few different videos. We were a year into our adventure, and we completely changed gears with what types of goats we have.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of smaller cows that we were raising, thinking that would be a good way to generate some income, but it was a lot of work and a huge time commitment to bottle feed cows. So we got out of that. We stopped doing it because it just didn't work for us. So be flexible and understand that it is okay to fail at something, as long as you don't allow that failure to keep you from trying something else or trying to improve so you don't fail next time.
Yeah. And sometimes things just don't work, and like I said, setting goals and things, that's great, but being flexible and understanding that sometimes those goals change, because you find out, hey, I really don't enjoy shearing Angora goats every year or twice a year, and this isn't something I'm passionate about, but hey, I really love dairy goats. So again, playing off your strengths and what works for you and what works for your lifestyle. And bottle feeding baby goats didn't work for us, so now bottle feeding anything, cows, goats.
Not a fan of bottle feeding.
Not a fan of it.
No, regardless of the animal.
It's adorable for about 24 hours. And then we realized that
2 hours.
We just really value what little sleep we get.
Yeah.
But bottle feeding cows isn't something that we enjoy doing. And so now if we purchase a cow, they're already weaned and we don't have to bottle feed them, which it's a little, again, it goes into the budget side of it too, because it's a little more upfront. But the time that you save and everything is really where that's what works for us. So we hope you found some of this stuff helpful. Again, it's not saying we know everything, and we certainly have a lot to learn still. Here's just a few things that we wish somebody had told us when we started out. And we really want everybody to be successful. If you want to be more self-sufficient, if you want to start a hobby farm, if this is something where you just kind of want to get out of the chaos of life and everything, and this is something you're passionate about, we really want you to have the tools you need to be successful, and understand that your success is going to look very different than our success or somebody else's success, and that's okay. But we see all the time, it seems like, on Facebook, Instagram, that farms in our area are closing up and they're getting done. And some of them it's due to retirement, and great for them, congratulations. But some of them it's because they just can't make it, because it is hard. It's not an easy lifestyle. It's very rewarding, but there's a cost. There's a cost financially, there's a cost physically and time-wise, mentally, emotionally. There is a cost to it, and that's not anything negative against anybody. Even if you do it for a couple years and you find out it doesn't work for you, that's great. You did it for a couple years, and the experience is something that nobody will ever be able to take away. But we want people to be set up for success, and sometimes that means starting out smaller and then growing bigger. And I know that's something I have a hard time with personally, because I like to jump in with both feet and sink or swim. But a lot of times when you do that, you're not really swimming, you're treading water. And I guess that's kind of what I hope to get that message out there. It's okay to start small. It's okay to start with a small raised garden bed on your deck or a couple potted plants. That's a great way to start. So totally unrelated to this video, but a couple weeks ago we had gone to the poultry show and we told you that we purchased an animal while we were there, and we're going to update you on what that animal is. So make sure you stick around till the end.
Maybe place your guesses down below as to what it might be.
Yes.
It is a bird, because poultry show.
So this is Titus. He is a red golden pheasant juvenile. He does not have his feathers yet, but he will get them hopefully this fall. Yeah, so if you found this helpful, or if you're thinking about starting out or any of that, feel free to comment below. Let us know. We'd love to share your journey. If you have a YouTube channel or Facebook page, Instagram, we'd love to follow you as well. We love getting emails and fan mail, so please reach out if you have questions, you have comments. We love hearing from you guys, and thank you. Thank you for letting us be part of your journey and for being part of ours.
Yeah, thanks for watching. We really do appreciate your support.
Yeah, so Remy is grateful for your support too. So please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're notified when we post new videos.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
You're such a good girl.